Good afternoon, everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Super. Cool, welcome to this session, Learning to Learn for Certification Success. Thank you for coming. I can see that it is lunchtime. Hopefully, this will be something that's nice to, digest along with your food. My name's Paul Batterson. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Cloud Galacticos. We're a UK-based consulting partner. I'm also a Salesforce MVP. For those of you that get to the end of this session and think, I've loved this guy so much, I want to hear more from him, there's my Twitter account. You can follow me on there. I also do a set of videos on YouTube. If you go to Twitter and look at Cloud Bytes TV, it's like tips and tricks. There's a lightning course that's already on there, things like that you might want to follow up with. Everyone know what this is? I'm not going to say anything that is going to remotely need you to know this, but legally we're all required to have it, so it's there, we've all seen it, there'll be a quiz later. So, today we're going to talk about learning how to learn, and this is kind of a new topic for me to talk about. I normally do a lot of very techie topics, so tomorrow I'm talking about Heroku and mobile apps and code, but a while ago I decided to kind of rethink about how I was approaching my learning. And it sounds a kind of strange thing to think about, but there were a few reasons for it. Number one was that things have been changing rapidly. So as a techie, every 5 minutes, everyone here do work with JavaScript. How often is there a new JavaScript framework out there? There's probably 3 been invented since I've started, talking. Salesforce released 3 times a year. They keep on buying new products. When I first started doing Salesforce, what is now the classic experience was just being released as the new Aloha experience. So, there's been a lot of change. We have Datorama's been bought now. We have Marketing Cloud. We have IoT, MuleSoft. All these things make it very hard to keep up to date with what's going on. Is this going to work? Come on, do it. Let's not use the keynote remote. So, I was getting good at passing tests. So, I, like everyone else here, have got a certificate or 2. I'm AWS certified. I'm Salesforce certified. I only have a certain number of hours in the day. Both of those are multiple choice exams. There's a certain statistical element to how well you can do on them. But just because I can answer the questions and get 75% or whatever and get the certificate doesn't mean I really understood the material. And I don't know about you, but I found that as I've got older, and you might look at me and think, no, he's a young man. He's, still in the prime of his life. He can't be losing his mental sharpness, but I just found it harder to pick new things up. I found that I was getting a bit fuzzy and just wasn't able to learn as quickly as I was doing so. And so I went away and specifically thought about how I was going to improve my ability to learn, how I was going to get better at doing that. And one of the main reasons that everyone here today is probably interested in learning is because of certification. Why do we bother getting certified? Everyone's got their own reasons, but there are 4 main ones that I find that people have. Number 1 is recognition. It's an industry standard. If you have your admin, your developer, your one of the designer ones, the CTA even, everyone recognizes what that is. Something you can take with you and carry with you across different jobs, different companies, different projects, and everyone knows what it's about, and you're going to have recognition for it. Career opportunities are a big one. Everyone wants to move up in their career. I worked for companies before where you weren't allowed to start doing Service Cloud projects until you were Service Cloud certified. Okay? So one of the big things you can get, new opportunities, new roles that become available to you once you start getting certified. There's a lot of people who aren't allowed to become architects until they have system or application architect, as a prime example. You want to improve your knowledge. We all want to learn more. We all want to be able to show that we know more and understand more. It's a big reason we want to get certified. And then what I think is probably the primary driver for a lot of people in the background, money. Who here works for fun? Anyone work for fun? Anyone work for free? Anyone want to work for free? Work for me for free? No? I've got my bank manager at the end of the day is coming to me about my mortgage and saying you've still got to pay it. As much as I wish I could win the lottery, make it disappear and work for free, one of the big reasons you want to get certified is to earn more money, increase your earning potential. So when we start to think about getting certified and for all these different reasons, we need to start being a bit more prescriptive about how we go in to learn and how we start to digest information to improve our ability to pass these certs. So first question we need to think about is, how is all this information we need to learn and need to hold on to, how is that stored in our brains? So this being a Salesforce event, everyone here is super comfortable with things being in rows and columns. Like it probably looks a little bit like a custom object. We're all used to storing facts neatly. Who here writes lists? Big old to-do lists, long to-do lists. Everyone likes doing that. When you go into a meeting, you write bullet point notes. Okay? But that's not how our brain works. Our brain doesn't store things in a very neat, logical order. You can't have an index on your brain to help you retrieve something faster. Our brain stores data in an associative way. And so it links together different elements and different ideas to help you form a bigger picture. So as an example, the lady on the screen here, anyone recognize her? Nope. So this is Juice Newton. She has a song called Angel of the Morning. I highly recommend you go and listen to some terrible 80s kind of soft balladic rock. But this song was one of the main songs on the Deadpool album. And so whenever I hear that song, it makes me think of the Deadpool movie. And if anyone not seen the Deadpool movie, you should go and watch that. So, when I think of that song, I think of Deadpool. And then the next thing that logically comes into my head is the lovely Ryan Reynolds. And so, my brain associates Ryan Reynolds, a Canadian actor, to an 80s pop ballad, and there's no real information to tie them together other than a movie that he was starring in. And this is the way your brain works. And so when you think of learning data and learning information, you need to think about it as like putting a jigsaw puzzle together. So what you've got different pieces of information you want to slot in so that you can understand the bigger picture. And when you're doing a jigsaw puzzle, one of the things that happens is most people start on the outside and work in, right? You get all the edge pieces, so you can start to do that. And then you get some more pieces, there's a blue area here. So I'm going to do out this little bit of blue area. Where's all the blue pieces? And we work and we build up that. And that's exactly how we learn. Pretty much the same way. What we do is we take the information we've got, and when we get some new information, we contextualize it alongside that and build upon it. What we find is that over time, the jigsaw goes from being 1,000 different pieces that make no sense to being one whole consistent picture, so that if we see any piece individually, we can start to see how it relates to everything else. So what we need to do when we're learning is we need to kind of go through this new information, and we need to make new pathways. We need to make new associations between the information we've got, the information we already understand, and this new information to help us understand this. So that's all well and good, and that is psychology, neuroscience 101 into learning. Everyone can learn that in like a first year undergrad course. But how does that actually help us to learn better? So I've got 5 key steps I want to share with you that when you're thinking about doing your next certification, or if you're thinking about just learning the release notes, because those release notes are big now. I mean, again, when I first started, I could read the release notes. It would take a few hours, but I could physically read them. I used to print them out. I think I'd have to kill a tree now to do so. Like, some of them are thousands of pages long. So what are the 5 steps we need to take part in? Step number 1 is to break information down into chunks. So what we want to do is take the information we want to learn and split it up into small digestible pieces. Are there any other Brits here? Anyone from the UK in the audience? Nope. So I'm not going to tell you about BBC Bite Size, as none of you will understand what I'm on about. But think of Lego blocks, right? Again, you want to take these small pieces, and so you can start interlocking them and interleaving them together. So break the information down into these small chunks. Once you've got it in these chunks, you want to study a chunk. You want to analyze it, go through it, but focus just on that area. Okay? Don't focus on the big picture. Just focus on what that specific piece of functionality pretty much in Salesforce is doing, how it works, and then start to think about how it relates to other things you already know. So say you were learning about permission sets, okay? So you'd start off by just dealing with assigning permission sets, okay? You'd study how permission sets are assigned, what you can and can't do with them, what you can and can't assign with them. And then you think, well, how do permission sets relate to profiles? Are they're kind of like profiles, but they're slightly different. You know, they're slightly at a smaller level. You can do license assignment with them. So, you know, you start to relate things to concepts you understand. And then you start to practice with them. And the term here is deliberate and novel practice. And it's a really important term here because what you've got to do is focus on using them and abusing them. So if you are like platform events is a prime example. So platform events were released a couple of years ago or a year or so ago. And they're a great way of sending messages across the platform between systems. So when I wanted to learn how to use platform events, I'd worked with message queues before and other queues, but I just went and spent hours working with platform events and seeing how I could break them. And that's really your aim, is to find out where its comfort points are, where you should be using it, where you shouldn't be using it, where it works well, where it doesn't work well, but focusing on using it deliberately. And then finally, you rinse and repeat. You take the next chunk, the next topic that's closely related, like the next puzzle piece, and you work on that. And you use that again to build up and build on top. And when I went away and started reviewing this and thinking about how I was learning, I went through this process and I kind of took some courses. There's a great course you can take on. It's not Udemy, it's the other one. On one of the online learning platforms. There's a fantastic book called A Mind for Numbers, which by a professor called Dr. Barbara Oakley. You should go and read that. But I spent some time doing this, and I went away and I used it to prep. So I wanted to take the Community Cloud Consultant exam. I was working a lot with communities, but I was working mainly with kind of weird edge case, Visualforce kind of communities. I wasn't really doing anything with like any of the templates. And so I went away and applied this. So I took the study guide, I broke it down into chunks. I went and studied chunk bit by bit. I worked with it. I tried to see if I could adapt it to things that I'd already done before. And then I rinsed and repeated and saw how it related. And I wrote up a ton of index cards for this, so I got a load of study notes that allowed me to kind of deliberately practice and test myself on it. I was all ready for the exam, and then the exam got cancelled. So I was meant to be doing that last week and come here with like a wonderful story of like how this all worked out, but fate conspired against me, so I can't tell you that. But I still do have those decks, and I still do have all the index cards, so I can use them. And so when we're applying this to that certification, again, some tips for you. Look at the study guide. Salesforce produces really good detailed study guides. Go through that material. There's normally a list of topics that you want to study. Take that list and work through that bit by bit. Flashcards are an amazing tool. I'm one of these people that I actually like physical index cards because they're super cheap. You can carry them around everywhere with you. And I find the process of physically handwriting the card helps me to remember. People learn either visually or auditorily or kinesthetically. And so anything you can do to kind of engage multiple modes by writing it up really helps. So I sit there and write them up. And then you experiment and play. Like everyone here does Salesforce projects. You've all implemented different things. Could be for your own company, could be for customers, could be just things you're interested in. Go away and take an existing thing you've done and think how you could re-implement it. And just do it in a dev org. Like I've probably got hundreds of dev orgs. If not, I reckon at one point I probably hit 1,000 dev orgs I had over like the past decade that I've just accumulated. They're free. Sign up for them. Go and get a DX playground or whatever and just really hammer home using something. And if you get to the point where it feels uncomfortable and you're not really sure you should be using that piece of functionality for this area, that's exactly what you want to be doing. You want to find out where its limits are, where it works, where it doesn't work. Because you can come up with some novel solutions that I can guarantee in the future. You'll probably sit there and go, oh, actually, we shouldn't use this here, or we should use this here, and this is why. And then finally, keep doing this for the release notes. And that's not only a tip for you, but that's also a tip for myself. Like, as I mentioned, the release notes are huge now. There's thousands of pages worth of stuff there, lots and lots of information, and it's a great way of you being able to learn and keep up to date with that. So just before we finish, again, like this was a really important thing for me because when I first started doing Salesforce, years ago, like it was a smaller platform. There was less to know about. I had a bit more free time. As everyone progresses in their career and everyone gets older, the amount of free time you have to do certification study doesn't tend to increase. Doesn't get easier. And so I'd really recommend for anyone who's like serious about either trying to get more certs or serious about trying to make sure that you can bring information back up or have some areas that you understand a bit better. So like just take a bit of time to think about how you do it. And Joe, it may not be that this system works for you perfectly. Like it's not the best system in the world, it's a system. But I'd really recommend like when you're reviewing how you are learning, it's one of the most important things you're going to be doing. And like any muscle, the more you practice being able to like learn and retain information, the more you quiz and test yourself on it, and the more often you kind of test the information you've gained, the more you'll be able to retrieve it later. So thank you very much. I hope you found this interesting and it's kept your lunch interesting as well. We've got a few minutes, so if anyone has any questions, happy to take them.